If you're trying to edit your videos on your Android device, but you're just getting caught up in the confusion or the overwhelm, I got you covered in this video. I'm going to take you through the video editing process step by step with what I believe is the best all-rounder free video editing tool on Android right now. So this video is going to give you the fastest, most efficient workflow so you can get great results without any frustration. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They finally find a decent app like VN, but they jump in and immediately start playing with music and adding filters and trying out all the cool effects. This is the fastest way to frustration. And in reality, it's like trying to put icing and sprinkles on the cake before you've baked the cake. So the secret to effective professional editing isn't about what you add in, it's about what you remove first. So the step-by-step process that I'm taking you through is called the Primal video method. This is something we use for all of our videos and have done for years. And this step-by-step process is something that not only works with VN, it works with any video editing tool or app out there. And to make this really easy for you, we've got a free downloadable PDF guide, but also a free AI prompt that you can type in the app or tool that you're using, and it will give you the step-by-step process that you can use when you're editing your videos. So as we kick this off, you can grab your copy with the QR code on screen, or it's linked in the description box below. Okay, so I'm over on my Android device now. This is what you'll see when you first open up VN Video Editor. What we want to do is we want to create our project first. That is step number one. So I'm going to hit the plus button down the bottom right corner here, and we're going to go to new project. We're going to keep it here as video based. So we're just having a basic timeline here. We're going to choose save. And then it's going to prompt us here to select our first video clip, the primary camera footage, not all your extra fancy stuff you want to add in. What is going to form the basis, the core piece of your video? We want to pick that clip or those clips here first. We can bring all the extra stuff in at a later stage. So I'm going to pick this clip here and I'm going to choose next. Now what this does is this actually helps set up our project. With a lot of editing tools out there, whatever you pick as the first clip, this is going to set your project up with the same settings as that clip. So you can see our project here is set up for a portrait video. It's because we imported a portrait video. If you do want to change that in terms of setting up our project here in this step number one, then we can come up the top here to where it says original, and we could choose what type of video we want to actually make here. So there are some widescreen ones. If we want a widescreen version, there's square. For this video, I'm going to leave it here as original, or we could also pick 9:16. Those are exactly the same. But you can see we can also customize things up like the frame rate down the bottom here. So again, it's going to analyze your clip and match that automatically for you. But if there is something specific you need, you can make those adjustments. Okay, so I'm going to apply that. And then down below that preview, we have our playback controls across the middle there. And then below that is our editing timeline. This is where the magic happens. So you can see I'm just tapping and swiping across here to scrub through our video. We can also pinch to zoom in or out to get more control over something and extra granularity. To get really precise, then we can zoom in or out to do that. But you'll also see that there is different layers here. So we've got the audio one on the bottom there. We've then got the video, and then there's a few others above that. One for adding stickers or B-roll, one for adding our text and titles and subtitles, and then we've got our music on top of that. And this will make more sense as we go through. And then right down the very bottom, this is where we have all our options for editing, but also all the different effects and things. We can access this menu bar down the bottom. Now, just before we get to the editing, I'd recommend you jump across to the very end of your project here in VN. And you can see that we have the footage clip that we brought in, but we've also got this extra little title card here. You want to try to remember to remove that first off. This is where I like to do this straight away. It's something that you can remove. You don't have to pay to remove it. We can just select it there, press the delete, and it is gone. We don't need that in our finished video. Now from there, the next step is to start trimming down our footage. We're gonna start baking our cake here. So for this, I'm gonna zoom back in. Let's pinch to zoom back in on this. And what I like about VN and a lot of other apps out there now is you can see down below the video, we've got our audio waveforms. So the visual representation on what's actually happening here. So you can see when I'm speaking or when I'm not speaking. So you see there's nothing here at the start until about here where I start talking. And then I stop again up here. So it's likely I've started, maybe I've made a mistake, and then I've just started that sentence again. So we can easily see the bits here that we want to remove. But let's say that we want our video to start about here. Then what we can do is press the pair of scissors down the bottom here. Make sure you can see those. And we press the scissors to split or cut our timeline at that point. So we now have 2 clips here, and we can just then press the delete button on the first one. Now video now is going to start from that point. Now let's come across to the end of our video here as well. You can see that if we're looking at this, I'm talking, and then I finish here. This must be the end of the video. Again, we could press the scissors, we could delete that second clip there, and our video is now going to finish at this point. Now, if I just want to undo this now, I'm going to hit the undo button a couple of times. Let's go back to before we've made that cut. Because another way that you can trim down your clips is if we tap on the clip itself, and let's come across so we can see the end of it. You can see we've now got this thicker yellow bar on the end, a handle on the end. We can grab that handle and we can swipe it back to where we want this clip to finish. So we just let go and our clip will finish at that point. Now we can actually use a combination of these. Let's just say that there was a chunk here in the middle that we wanted to cut out. I could add a split here at this point. I could then tap on our clip until those handles appear, and then we can just tap and swipe back to remove the section that we don't want. So that's really the process here of using a combination of these two, where we are tapping on our clips and splitting them, or using those handles, or both. But you want to go through now, you want to remove any bad takes, any mistakes, so that you're just left with the good stuff. Now, if you want to reposition or reorder any of the clips in here, we can just tap and hold on a clip, and you can see that we can just shift these around to, again, build out that story. So once you're done with this step, the next step is for us to bring in any extra clips. So our B-roll or overlay footage that's going to sit on top of this core video that we've already edited down. So let's come across here to the start, maybe about here, we're going to bring in another clip. I'm going to hit on this layer right above it, and that's going to ask us, what do we want to bring in? Do we want to bring in photos or videos? Do we want to bring in any of the graphic elements, or do we want to add text? So if we look at the elements in here, there's different stickers and graphics, and some of them are animated. So let's make this bigger so we can see more. You can see that there's social media logos, there's subscribe buttons, there's some animated things to call out different sections of your video. So there's lots of stuff that you can easily add in here, but there's also GIF or GIF integration here as well. So we can search for those and easily add those into our videos. But for this, I'm going to bring this back down here, and we'll go back to import this, and I'm going to choose photos. And let's bring in this clip here down the bottom. So straight away, we can see that that clip is now come in on top of, it's overlaid on top of our primary footage. Now up in the top window here, we can select on it, we can pick it up, we can move it around. So if you do want a small clip down in the bottom corner, we could definitely do that, or we could scale it up. We can just pinch to zoom to scale that up and move it around to wherever we would like. Down in our timeline, we've got access to those same tools that we had before for trimming things down. So let's say that we only wanted this, just a short piece of this clip here, and wanted it to finish at about this point. We could use the scissors and we could split it. Maybe we will shorten a piece off this second one, and let's shorten the end of it. And let's pick up the clip and move it across a little bit. Again, just move these chunks of footage around to build out the story that we want. Now, maybe we will reposition this clip. I think it's a little laggy with the screen recording here, but I can again tap up the top and just move this around to get the scaling and everything of how we want this to look. So you want to go through now and add in any B-roll or overlay footage into your project. This is really the finishing part of baking our cake, because now the next step is to add in any text or titles. So I'm going to come back to the start of our video here, and I'm going to press on the title layer here, and we're going to choose to add in text. And then you can see we get the option to add a heading, a subheading, or we can just add body text. And all of this is fully customizable. But as we scroll down, you can see there's all different kinds of titles, and there's so many in here that we can choose, we can customize up, we can make them our own. So if I keep scrolling, you can see some of the different types of things. Even some of these look like text messages and things coming through. Keep going down. Lots of different options. So let's come back here. Let's pick something. Maybe we will go like this one here, the vlog 01. I'll press on this. That's straight away been added into our timeline. So we can see that down the bottom. Again, we can pick it up. We can move it around. We've got those handles on the start and the finish. So we can choose how long we actually want to have this on screen for. And then to edit this, we can either tap on it up the top, or we can hit the little edit button on the menu bar there. So let's type in Justin B, and then we go ahead and customize this up. So we could do things like change the fonts. I'm just tapping on these little menu bar items here. We've then got the font size, so we can make it bigger or smaller, all the colors. So we can actually go through and do all of this manually or across this bar here. These are some different preset looks that we can use as well. And obviously we just got so much more customization in here to make this look the way that we'd like. When we're happy, we just want to hit the tick to apply that. And if we play this now, you see that automatically animates in really, really quickly. Now we can pick this up, we can move it around, we can again pinch to scale it. If we want to make it a bit bigger, maybe we'll put it down here somewhere. I just love how easy this is. So you want to go through now and add in any text or titles into your videos. From there, we're going to put another layer of icing on the cake here. And this is where we can look at any transitions between our clips. So we'll come down here a little later in our video and we can see that we have these 3 clips here. And you can see between each of them, we have a little plus button there. If we tap on the plus button, then we can bring in these effects. And you can see it's going to give you a preview as we tap on them. So a dip to black, a dip to white. There are some different zoom effects. I mean, there's quite a lot in here if we scroll across. I'd say use this sparingly. You don't want this to cheapen the look of your video. But let's just pick something simple like a fade to white. We could actually speed this up so it looks more like a camera flash. Something like that. And we hit the tick to apply it. And now down in the timeline, instead of it being a plus, we can see that there is this fade effect that happens here. So that's how we can add a transition between clips on that primary timeline. But in the case of this video here, where it's essentially the same shot back to back, I wouldn't add a transition between the two. So let's select on that transition. Let's choose none to remove it. What I would do instead is either just leave it. I'll play it now so you can see. Right, so there's that little jump between the two. I'd probably just leave it. Or if I wanted to try and hide it a bit, then what I would do is pick one of the 2 clips, maybe this one here, and I would just zoom in on one of them, just so the shot looked a little bit different. So with that clip selected, I'd come back up to the top and I would just pinch to zoom on this and position it. So I try to line up the eyes so it's a little bit less jarring. So if we play through this now, you'll see that there's just a little bit of difference in the shot. It almost looks like it was used with a more zoomed in camera or something like that, just to break it up a little bit for your viewers. So go through now, add in any transitions or any zooms on your clips, and then we're going to dive into effects. That's the next step. So let's come over here. Let's select our B-roll clip here. In terms of effects, there's lots of different things that you can do in here. So we've got things like speed control. So if we want to slow down or speed up a clip, we can do that here. If I select regular, we've got some basic options here. So 1 times is normal speed. If we want to slow it down, we go below 1. So now we're at half speed. If we go above, then we are speeding this up. Now we can also go more advanced with this. If we choose the curve menu here, there's different presets, or we can really adjust the speed over time. So it might start fast, slow down, speed back up. I'm not going to jump into that in this video, but do know that we do have a more advanced tutorial here on YouTube. And we've also got a deeper dive training, which I'll link in the description box below. With our B-roll clip selected, we also have this motion option here. So this again would be very similar to the transitions that we've just looked at, where we can fade those on screen. So we have an in animation, we have an out animation, and there's also the option to loop an effect here as well. So it's just continually running that effect. The main one I want to call out here is back over here under FX. Then you can see we have a lot of different things you can apply here. So some of these are move effects, some of them are more like transitions. There's things like this where it'll zoom in and out to the beat. There's glitch effects, lots of things in here. Now, most of them are actually free. There are some in here that will have a little crown on it, showing that it is a premium effect. So you will need the paid version of VN to access that. But just looking across here, you can see that pretty much all of them here, or most of them here, are free. So go through now, add in any transitions or effects into your videos. From there, the next step is to add in any music or sound effects into your video. So for this, we can come back to the start of our project. Let's go up to the music layer this time. Let's tap on that. And it's going to ask us, do we want to bring in music? Do we want to bring in any sound effects? Or do we want to record our own voiceover? So we can actually narrate directly into this app too. I'm going to choose music. Now in here, there are music tracks that you can use. You can see we've got different categories here, vlog, pop, lots of others. And inside of each of those, there's a bunch of music. Now I usually recommend getting your music from places like Artlist or Epidemic Sound. That's where we get the music for our videos from. And at least that way you know that you own the license. So you'll have no issues using these in different places. But if you are bringing in your own music track from Artlist or wherever, then we can go over to My Music and we can import it in from there. But for this video, I'm just going to choose music. I'm going to pick a track here. Let's go Island Joy. Why not? We're going to download that. And then I would choose use. Now we can choose here the section of this track that we want to bring in that you want and not to bring the whole lot in. You can trim it down here, but you also get access to trimming it down in the timeline as well. We can also adjust our volume on the way in here, and we can also apply fade in or a fade out. If we don't want just the music starting, we want it to kind of come up in volume and then go out in volume at the end, then we can do that here too. Would recommend is that you're actually lowering the volume on your music somewhere down to around 30 at the time of importing if you can, if you just want this as background music, because the next step is we're going to adjust the volume levels, but I love that VN lets you adjust your music volume levels on the way in as well. So I've lowered that down and we're going to hit the tick to apply that. We can now see that's now shown up at the top of our timeline here. So it's not visible in our project, but it's at the top of our timeline here for us to make adjustments to it. I also love that in VN, it's automatically trimmed off the end of the song. So the song was much longer than how long our video is. It's actually done that trimming there for us so that the music finishes at the end of our video. But just like any other clip, if we wanted to remove a chunk of it, we could add cuts and splits and move things around in there too. So you want to go ahead now, add in any music or sound effects into your video, and then we're going to adjust our volume levels. So for this part, I recommend that you've got headphones on, so you're really getting a good representation of what everything sounds like and the different volume levels, because there is no audio bars or an actual visual indication of how loud or quiet something is in here. So what we want to do is get our spoken piece, the primary camera footage, right? We want to get the volume levels correct for that, and then we'll adjust music and sound effects and things afterwards. So you can either do what we just did and have your music volume lowered at the start, or if you want to mute it altogether while you're getting the primary stuff right first, we can just tap on it and then come down the bottom here to volume, and we can mute it here. So we're not going to hear any music while we're getting this right. And then we want to select our first clip here in our timeline, and we come down here to volume. And again, this is something that VN does a really good job of getting this pretty accurate. I very rarely need to adjust this, but if we do want to make our volume louder, we can swipe it up. If we want to make it quieter, we can go below 100 to get this to where you want it for your video. Once you're happy with that, if you want to apply any changes to all of your clips, then we can just hit apply to all, and that's going to make those adjustments across the board. Now, it's also worth noting that some of your B-roll clips, like our camera clip here on the screen, might also have some audio. So we can adjust the volume levels for that by selecting it, coming to volume. In this case, I'm just going to mute that. I don't want to hear any of the audio from that, but we could also just turn it right down. Personal preference. I'm going to hit the tick to apply that. We'll do the same for the next B-roll clip. Hit volume and let's just mute that as well. Finally, the last one will be adjusting your music volume level to bring that back up to where we actually want it. As I said a little earlier, we normally have this around the 30 mark, but depending on the music track and also the vibe you're going for, then it could be louder or quieter than that. So let's just go, for instance, here around 25, and I'm going to choose apply. And that's now set. So the music is there. It's not too loud. It's not too overpowering. We can still perfectly hear what it is I'm saying here in narrating this video. Once that's done, this is where we jump into our color grading or color correcting or making any tweaks and adjustments to how our video looks. Again, we'll do this on our first primary clip here first, because we can apply those changes to our remaining clips. So with that clip selected, we want to swipe across here to where we've got filter. So in here, they've got, think of them like Instagram filters. There's different looks that you can apply, and we can also customize them up further. So you can start out here by picking one of these that's a good match, and if it fits perfectly, then fine, just run with that. Or we can then, once we've picked one, we can jump over to adjust, and we can tweak things manually to get it looking the way that we want. But you also have the ability here, if we go back to filter, we don't have to use a filter. So I can choose original, so no filter, just jump straight into the adjust area, and I can make the adjustments here myself. So what I recommend is that you're going through some of these settings here and just making minor adjustments to see how it looks to get the look that you're after. But if you need a quick checklist, how I would approach this, I would always look at the exposure or the brightness here first. So I would brighten it up or darken it off. I would then come across to color temperature. to fix any mistakes that we might have had with our camera settings or anything that looked a little bit off. So we can either warm up the shot, add more yellow or orange, or we could make it cooler, add more blue. Maybe we'll go a little bit more warmth here. And then I'll jump to the contrast and tweak that as needed. Maybe make it a little bit more contrasty. And the last one I play with is the saturation. So the intensity of the color. You can see if we dial this up, I look like an orange. And we go the other way, it takes the colors right out. So again, minor adjustments for some of these things. Now, if you do want to see a before and after preview of what it is you're editing, if you just tap on the preview, it'll show you that was before, and when we let go, that's after. So you can easily track your adjustments as you go. Once you're happy with that, we can hit apply to all. That look or effect is now applied to all of those clips. And then we can go through all of the B-roll clips and make adjustments to those too. The final step then is exporting or saving out your video. So we want to go up to the top right-hand corner, the little blue share icon. The default here is for this to open up on auto, and the auto settings are probably going to be fine for most people out there unless you need something specific. Because again, this has created our project settings based on our main camera footage. So this clip here, 1080p 30, and that's what we're going to be saving out. But if we kick it into manual, then you can see that we can adjust our resolution, so up to 4K if we'd like. We can also make changes to our frame rate and also our bit rate. So the bit rate is the quality, but it also coincides with the file size. So the higher the quality, or the higher the bit rate, the larger the file size. And you can see that it updates there. It says estimated file size. As I increase the quality, our file size is obviously getting bigger as well. But for this, I'm going to leave this on auto, and I would just hit export, and our video is saving out to our phone. Now, if you only remember one thing from this tutorial, just remember that adding stuff in at the start is not the best way. I want you to ignore like 90% of the settings and features in your app or tool, and let's start taking stuff out. Let's start removing the bad takes, the mistakes. Let's do that first before we start to play with some of the other things that are in there. This is by far the most efficient and effective way to edit. Again, don't forget to grab our free PDF guide and AI prompt for the Primal video method, the exact step-by-step process I just took you through, so you can print it out or have it on screen when you're editing your videos to make it easier. As always, there's a bunch of other links and resources in the description box below to help you even further, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.